got orders from all the head shed, and they said the Russians, their paratroopers are airborne and they're on the way to Pristina Airport, like loads of them. I've never seen anything like it. This is it, lads, we're going in now. The general in charge of the army at the time, he knew what the paras are like, and he said, I'm not going to be responsible for World War III. We were spearheading the whole of NATO, because they know if you're going down, you're sending the paras in first. Yeah. And there was ethnic cleansing going on. It was the Serbs with the local Muslim populations. The police would arrest people and they'd never be seen again.
What was your movement when you come back from Kosovo?
So I was then started fighting again while I was in, and was doing really well. Probably done 600 or 700 individual actual fights.
Have you had 600 fights?
Yeah, probably. I wanted to be the best version of myself that I possibly could do.
What was your relationship like with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
And that was a bit of a story, actually, if you want me to tell you about it. So.
Lee, welcome to the show, mate.
How you doing?
Very good.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, mate, this is a pleasure.
Yeah.
Let's roll all the way back. Where did you grow up, and how did you become a paratrooper and a world kickboxing champion?
Right, I'll go back to the start, I suppose. I grew up in a place called Telford, Shropshire. Have you heard of it before?
Yeah, I've heard of Telford. Yeah.
Yes, it's like a new town. Well, they called it a new town back in the 70s when it was all being kind of built and everything. But it's basically a collection of small villages, really, from the old Industrial Revolution. You know, you got Ironbridge, a place called Madeley, Wellington, Hadley, and a few of the other older, Dorley. And they basically just stuck a load of council estates around them, a big town centre in the middle, and a lovely little town park, then called it Telford. But because of that, it didn't really have any, that was probably in the 70s, I think, and it was an overspill from council estates from Birmingham, Wolverhampton, Liverpool, and lots of other places. People were coming from London as well. They were like advertising it on the TV. There used to be an advert and show the town park and all Ironbridge and all the nice bits, not all the shit stuff that was there. It's improved somewhat now anyway, but so basically it was quite subdivided. So a lot of the places had, these little villages had their own personalities. They even had their own little accents, to be honest with you. And because of that, there was a lot of kind of gang rivalry. You'd have the schools in the different areas, and you didn't really, I mean, you could go to the other areas, but it would be dodgy. As soon as people knew you from another area, you can get yourself in a few sticky situations. So obviously I had to grow up. I went to quite a few different schools as well. We moved quite extensively from one thing or another. Parents got divorced. Well, just before they got divorced, we moved to London for a year as like a last ditch attempt to kind of pull things together, which didn't work. I came back and moved to a school the other side of Telford. I was in a place called Sturchley, went to Dorley, totally opposing sides. And then obviously, because I was a new guy, I was from that one side, there was all sorts of shit that was happening. And there was quite a lot of as I said, even at school, a lot of trouble. So I was trying to kind of navigate that as a teenager. I was quite a really nice, young, sensitive young man, to be honest with you. But there was danger, like a lot of danger behind every corner, so it seemed.
And what was school life like for you? What were you actually like at school growing up through the years?
So I later found out in my 30s, the mid-30s, I'm dyslexic. So there wasn't such a thing then. There was it probably the same for you. You're just in class 4.
For exactly. Yeah.
So, and obviously I've probably got some type of attention deficit, which isn't really an attention deficit. You've got, the way I look at it, it's like a hyper focus in what you're interested and a total disinterest in anything else. Yeah. So I was later to discover that when I started to get into martial arts and just obsess over it. So because I was quite obsessed with my martial arts, I didn't really pay that much attention in school. And I had a bit of an incident. Well, there's quite a few where I had, a couple of fights like you do, playground fights at school. I was quite tall. I was like 13 and I was nearly 6 foot when I was 13, but I was dead skinny. So I kind of looked quite a lot older. So I'd quite often get into like scrapes with older lads that was 17 or 18, probably assuming I was a lot older than I was.
Hi guys, just giving you the quick heads up. We've just launched a new VIP membership on Patreon. This gives you exclusive episodes, behind the scenes footage never seen before, VIP community chat, and early access to all episodes. If you love what we do, for the sake of a cheeky pint a month, £5 a month, come and support the channel. It allows us to grow even bigger.
There was one incident where it sticks out over most of them, where I was 14, I was at a party, and I was with a couple of girls. We moved away from the main group, and there was this pub in Brookside, which is one of the areas, and we'd walked from the party to the pub because they had these little, I don't know if you remember them, kind of over-the-counter off licenses, a little back door in the pub. You could go in. Yeah. The girls had makeup on. They were 14 or 15. They got served back then. You know what it was like. So we got some drinks to go back to the party. There was a group of lads outside, and one of them I knew, kind of. They were a lot older than me, 17, 18, and this other lad was a year or two above me at school. And he came over to talk, but I just knew something was like amiss. And you know, don't you? Because you can feel it, don't you? You don't need anyone to tell you anything when you know something's going to go off. So one thing led to another, and then he tried to take a shot at me and moved, he missed me. And then I started having a bit of a scrap with him. And all of a sudden, I was just thrown to the ground by all the other lads behind and just beaten up and kicked in the face, and just for no reason as well. And I was with two girls, and they pulled them off. I managed to get up. I think I ran to safety somewhere. And that's the first time I'd experienced proper violence with no one to help me, with no idea of what the consequences would be if I hadn't have got out of it. And I think that situation, along with a couple of other ones, made me feel extremely vulnerable. And I remember thinking, I can't live like this. What am I going to do? I need to make myself as hard as I physically can so this never, ever happens to me again. And then I just delved into martial arts obsessively because I found there was a way. It was like a life hack. You could actually make yourself stronger. You can make yourself better. And as a young man, being able to fight is probably the most important thing. You'll know. You probably grew up in a similar time to me. Yeah. And if you can look after yourself, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Well, it's a confidence boost, isn't it? Yeah.
And it kind of trumps everything as well, doesn't it? If you're able to defend yourself physically, you can stand up for yourself.
So how old were you when you had that tear up then?
That was 14.
14. And what was your life moving forwards like, knowing that you're going training 3 days a week? Where were you training? What were you doing?
So back then there wasn't that many places.
No. And what are we talking here? We're talking in the early 90s here.
That was probably moving late 80s, early 90s. That's probably late 80s, early 90s, I think that would have been. So there was martial arts about, but where I lived in Telford wasn't a city or anything. I think if you'd gone into the cities, you'd have had a lot more options. So you just had to kind of walk to wherever I wanted to go, to the local places. And then I started taking it a lot more seriously at that stage. So I went to a few different places, Kung Fu. First tournament I actually did when I was 12, I did it with my stepbrother. I lost my individual fight. And then I fought in the teams, got knocked out in the teams, unconscious, and no one in our team won. Yeah. And we fought these other, because it was an under 18s section, and I think I was about 12 at the time on that one. But I said I was quite tall. Yeah. It was under 18s, over so much of a height. So we lost, but I got a second place trophy, and I remember this. Yeah. And it didn't come for weeks because the event organizer ran out of trophies like they did. And I got it in the post afterwards. And it was the first time I'd ever won anything. And I got knocked out. I didn't win my fight, and it was a second place. But I think that had more significance than anything I'd ever won at that point. I was like, wow, I can actually. But I promised myself I was never going to do it again. Yeah. I said, I got knocked out. I felt terrible. I was terrified when I did it. But obviously then the other incident happened. I got a bit older. My mindset changed. And then I got to 15, and then I started taking it really seriously then. And I started training with English contact karate. It was like a full contact karate place. It was just coming out back then. It's like kickboxing basically, in Telford. And that was brilliant. And I could walk there, and there were classes on 4 or 5 days a week, and you could double and triple your classes up. So I'd go down there and, do loads of classes. And I got in with some of the junior instructors, and then I'd train with them separately as well in other classes. And I was getting bigger, I was getting a bit stronger. And in the classes, as anyone knows who does combat sport, if you grow up doing combat sports as a kid, and then once you get to 14, 15, 16, you start like sparring men. Yeah. And they're quite easy. Like if they're not experienced, obviously they're not, but compared to, if you fight a beginner man compared to a beginner teenager, they're actually easier because they're a bit slower, they're more unfit. Yeah. So I realized actually, I'm tall enough, I can actually, navigate myself around some of these beginner men. And I can remember a turning point that happened was at a place called Donington Bonfire. which is notorious in Telford. It's obviously once a year, massive bonfire. I think it's tamed down somewhat. They used to like build it sky high for like a week before. And
no health and safety.
Yeah, no health and safety. You're literally, you're burning alive, stood at the outside of it. Biggest fairs you can imagine. And everyone from all of the different areas in Telford would go. So there'd be loads of trouble though as teenagers, because there's not much else you can do.
Yeah.
So we went down there with one of my friends called Craig. He also did martial arts, and we were the only ones our age really that were doing it to a high level. We'd both competed like nationally and internationally and done well. So, and we were good mates. Eventually, we weren't to start with. We'd like kind of heard of each other. We thought, who's this guy you think he is? And then, who's he think he is? And then we got introduced to each other, and we got on best of friends instantly. So we were training partners, and we went out, and we had a few drinks like you do. I think I was 50. In fact, I'll tell you what I was. It was just before my 16th birthday, because it's November and I was 16 in December. So I was like, this is probably 18 months after that incident. And I've been training a lot, I've been sparring with men and stuff, and we'd had a few drinks and was outside this pub just walking around, weren't really causing any harm, and some blokes came out of the pub and started trouble with us and came right over to us. And I just remember thinking, I can handle blokes in training, you know what I mean? I thought I'll just see that, because I wasn't too frightened or intimidated of the situation. He came towards me, and I just remember I just hit him, and then I just moved away. So I thought, he's big and strong, but I can move quicker. And I got him. And then I just did it again, moved in, hit him, moved away, and he had no answer to it. I thought, all right. And then I did that a few more times. And then he fucking grabbed me with his man strength. I was like, all right, I hadn't accounted for that. And then I just saw him there. So I flipping headbutted him as hard as I could. And he went to the floor. And I just remember thinking, flipping out, I've just beaten a bloke up. He must have been like in his mid-30s or something. My mate was shocked, and he'd had a bit of an incident with the other guy there, but he hadn't had the confidence to do it. So we both ran off. And obviously we're like, no way, what's just happened? He just beat a bloke up, and I was laughing about it. And then a couple of hours later, we were walking, and we must have been giving off some certain vibes because we were pumped. And we walked past these other two blokes, and my mate was pissed off because of what had happened. We hadn't started the trouble either of the times. We never did. I never started trouble, just so people know I've never been a trouble causer. But unfortunately, I never walked away. I would just keep myself present around the environment until it went off. And Craig was with us, and he was a bit pissed off because of what had happened, and he wanted to do something. These guys just literally just barged straight through us. We turned around, we had another scrap with these two men, and we won again. And we was like, I've just beat two men up in one. And I thought, I'm quite good at this. Like, I thought,
I'm onto something.
Yeah. And that was, things just totally changed, and I just totally flipped in my self-image of who I thought I was and what I was able to do. Probably too much. I probably went too much the other way then. But then I was on a committed journey to make myself the man I knew I needed to be to survive in the world. I always had an idea of the type of man I wanted to be. And every decision I made was to try and make me that man. So to take me a step closer.
And when were you that age, what sort of man did you want to be?
Strong, confident, fearless. You know, I wanted to be unable to be, probably, unable to be affected physically or mentally by anything. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And you've later discovered that's impossible. But that was not what I was aiming for at that age. I just want invincibility. Anything I could do to make me a bit stronger, a bit better, a bit tougher, I would do, no matter what it was. I just learned to overcome those fears, because, when your adrenaline goes, when you're younger, it's terrifying. The first few experiences, you just want to avoid it. But I was learning to get over that initial fear from doing tournaments. I got in loads and loads of fights, like all the time then. And I was, to be fair, I was pretty good at it. I pretty much managed to win most of them. But, there might have been a few arguable ones where no one won. It was a bit of a scuffle with a group. But most of the time, I pretty much managed to come on top. So
how tall are you today? I'm
6'3".
6'3" and weighing in at?
I'm about 110 kilo probably, So about 17, 18 stones.
Yeah, mate.
But I wasn't always.
Yeah.
I fought in the WKA World Championships when I was 16 in the minus 64 kilo section.
Minus 64?
Yeah, and I was bearing in mind I was about 6'1" then.
Yeah, okay.
So imagine how skinny I am.
Yeah. At what age did you start putting on proper muscle? When that turned you from being a talented fighter to then lifting the weight? Yeah, well, what happened is, going down this journey, I then thought, right, what else can I do? I can fight. Then the Falklands Islands incident happened in 1982. There's all documentaries on about the Paratrooper Regiment and what the paras and the Marines did. They walked the whole island, 70 miles, and they did some of the bloodiest battles that have been since the Second World War nearly.
And it was really inspirational stuff. And I thought, fuck, these guys are superhuman.
Yeah.
I thought I couldn't do that. They want to be shot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't get my leg blown off and stand on a mine. I wouldn't. And then there was a documentary that came out and you could see the training they went through. And I thought, that is unbelievable. And I thought, and then there was part of me then that thought, you know, could you do it? Could you do it? And then for years it was just like, no, I couldn't do that. That's another level. But eventually I built myself up to a position. And also with what was going on in Telford, it was a dodgy area. And we're going out, we're getting in scrapes all the time. And there was big gangs and I was either going to get pulled into one of them or I was going to end up really, you know, crossing paths with someone that I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You'd quite often get the Sunday morning flipping political phone call off one of the lads where one of your mates has beat someone's flipping cousin up and you've got to sort out what's going to happen. You've probably been there yourself.
Yeah.
At least people aren't landing on your door because they've got a bit of respect for you. Like, but you know, they've been injured. They want to go to the police.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? You know, sometimes people get paid money, don't they? It's like, you know, as a bit of a substitute and not taking it any further. Or you'd get people want to straighten it or whatever it was that needed sorted. So you had to navigate those.
Did you find
waters.
that this was building and building and building as you were getting older? More of this was happening. You're getting caught in the wrong things. Was there a time you're sitting at home going, you know what? I need to get myself out of Telford.
That's exactly what happened.
Is that when you were like, right, I'm going to go to the paratroopers?
Yeah. There came a tipping point.
Yeah.
It's exactly right what you said there. There came a tipping point where to stay and to do all that, it was actually easier to go in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I thought if I'm going in, I'm it's safe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least like I know where the direction the threat's coming from.
Yeah.
And some of my mates have been pulled right. Some of the ones I went to school with, they've been pulled right into the gang environment, and it was a big gang. I mean, one of the biggest in the UK. Some of those, some of the subgroups all joined together to make like a super group, and we were all right. We were always okay because we went to the same school and we were on the peripheries though, so we knew enough people that we were okay. And but you're never totally okay because you don't know everybody, and it was such.
And there's always someone harder than you.
Yeah, that's it.
There's always someone more prepared to do something more crazier than you. That's the scary thing.
I know. But then when you're young, you think, no, you're not. I'm going to do the same.
I'll do it again, and I'll double what you're going to do to me. Yeah.
That is not where you want to be, does it? And I was thinking, right, I'm just fucking going to get out of here. So I decided, I'm going to go in the parachute regiment. I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go for it. And then I became obsessed with it. So then I was researching. I mean, you didn't have YouTube back then.
Yeah. What year roughly are we talking here?
So I joined up in 94. So this must have been about 92. Okay. Because it took me a couple of years to get in because you were able to get in at about 16 and 10 months at the time. But I went to the careers office. It was different back then. You literally went in before they did anything and go, right, get on the chin-up bar. Yeah. If you can't do 10 chin-ups, fuck off. Like, come back, we can do 10 chin-ups and I'll talk to you about it. It was literally, that's what we did. And then, so we had to go through all the medicals and all this, that and the others. And they put me on the scales and they just went, you're too skinny for your height weight ratio. So go away, put some weight. I did the chin-ups, I think. And then they sent me home. They said, right, put some weight on, which is more difficult than you think when you're 16. You've got a fast metabolism. You're training all the time. So I was just eating loads of Mars bars, just eating whatever I could. You know, I had a really big appetite at that age. So it wasn't working that well. I was trying as well. I got on the weights, tried to put a bit of weight training on, went down the local gyms. And then I went back to the careers office, but I put a few extra pairs of jeans on. I had a tracksuit on. I put stuff in my pockets and they got me on the scales. And luckily I was just on the weight. He went, right, you've made it. I was like, fucking hell. They didn't check me. I'm not sure if they knew or not, but they kind of like it in the military. Yeah. If you not cheat, but if you really stretch the rules. Yeah. As much as you can, just don't get caught. They all say,
that's life. That's life, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. You think the crime is getting caught. If you get caught, you're in fucking trouble for getting caught. They say, how did you get caught? That means do whatever you can to get what you want, but just don't get caught. So at that stage, I'd managed to get in. That was made up.
And how old were you when you got in?
So by the time I actually got through it all, and there's quite a substantive selection process, took about a year as well.
And what was that feeling like, knowing you're leaving the naughtiness of where you were to go, right, I'm fully focused? Were you thinking, right, I want to go to war?
No.
Did you have that mentality? I want to fight. Or were you thinking, I want to go in and train. I want to be the best human being I can be?
That was my, there's different people go for different reasons. You get some that are just really warry bastards and just want to kill everyone. And that wasn't really me. I was more about, I wanted to make myself into this person You know what I mean? I wanted to be the best version of myself that I possibly could do. And every decision I had to take, whether it made me feel scared or not, if it was going to make me better, I had to do it. And I couldn't, if I chickened out in something, my mind would have me at the night. It'd be going, you know, you bottled it.
You won't sleep at night. No, I agree.
And then that pressure in my own mind became too much. All right, I'll fucking do it. I know. So I joined up then and embarked upon what was the hardest 7 months of my life.
So explain to me, and for the listeners who don't know, explain to me, being a paratrooper, those 7 months, what you had to go through, and what was the result at the end of that?
Okay, so quite a substantial amount of people go for the parachute regiment.
Yeah.
In fact, even now,
it's one of the best regiments out there, right?
It is, yeah.
Tough
in the world. When it comes to closing and killing the enemy, I don't think there's anyone better in the world that does it. You know what I mean? They're that good. They support the SAS in that side of things. Obviously, the SAS are Special Forces, Parachute Regiment Elite. That means they're infantry, but they're the very best at what they do. And then you've got the SAS are specialised in what they do, and it's a different process. But outside of the Special Service, the Parachute Regiment is the toughest regiment to get in, with the biggest failure rate. So.
Is that right? The biggest failure rate?
Oh, yeah. Everyone tries to join more people join the parachute regiment than all the other infantry regiments put together.
Right.
But most of them don't pass, so they feed through into them. So it's a great recruitment tool for the army as well. And those stats are true, because I know people that are at the depot that teach there now, and someone that was involved.
What made you choose the parachute regiment compared to choosing another regiment?
Because I wanted to be elite. I wanted to be the best I could be.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I wasn't scared of heights. I actually enjoyed stuff like that, and I thought that would really suit me. And I know that they're more aggressive. They're very aggressive, even compared to any of the other like elite forces out there. They are extremely aggressive with what they do, but extremely professional. You get to see. There's some stereotypes about the paras. Some of them are true, I'm not going to lie, but some of them aren't. They are the most switched on people that I've ever met in my life, some of them. So when I embarked upon the journey of going to depot and meeting these, what seemed like to me, supermen, they were everything I wanted to be in a man. They were professional. They were hilarious. The training was what I didn't imagine is how funny it was going to be. Like, it was just hilarious, because they were beasting everyone, no matter what you did, what colour you were, what colour your hair was. If you had a slightly bigger head, you were Jughead forever. That like would stick with you for 10 years. If you had a small head, you were Dollhead. If you're a little bit stupid, you'll be. There was one guy, they called him Mayo FF, thick as fuck. And someone, what was it? One guy messed up his day sack. He was day sack mong forever. Forever. Like, it came with him to battalion as well. So, and it's just hilarious. And you're getting it as well. So you've got to be quite thick-skinned. But our family we took the mickey out of ourselves quite a lot. So, and it was even better than I expected. I went in there expecting to hate every part of it. And I'm not going to lie, it was so fucking hard, but it was just about manageable all the time. And I didn't want to just go there and just scrape through. I wanted to try and be the best as well. I knew when I first got there, like the first 2 weeks, there's so many older guys, because I was quite young, and they were big, fit, strong. Some of these guys were athletes before, and we did the first few PT sessions, and I was in the top 50%, maybe top 40% maybe, but there was some that were way ahead, and I thought, flipping hell, these guys are seriously fit. Within 2 weeks, some of them were gone. I'm missing my girlfriend. I'm knackered. Or they're too scared all the time of what the next event is.
And this is in that 7 months period.
Yeah, this was in the first 2 weeks. This was. Okay. Yeah. One guy actually turned up with a parachute regiment tattoo on day one. Like, and you don't get that until you pass the training.
That's confidence for you, isn't it?
You know, he left, obviously. He got absolutely hammered by the staff. I'm sure. We went out, we did it because when it was just before Christmas, we joined up, and then we had 2 weeks off for Christmas, and then we started from day one again. Yeah. So just extra 2 weeks beast. And when he come back, he'd had it covered over, but they knew then. Yeah. And he just got hammered consistently until he left. Because you have to earn that. So then the training just progressively builds up, and then more and more people are dropping off all the time. And then the numbers got that bad that they mixed us with another platoon. So we did the first 10 weeks, and then we started phase 2 training, and we at that point got mixed with another platoon. So we were 598 platoon, and then they mixed us with 599, or it might be the other way around, I can't remember. But in the end, we were 598/9 platoon, which is a mixture together. And that's when things really started to get great then, because you start building up for what's called P Company. So I don't know if you've heard much about the Parachute Regiment selection and the actual test.
Yeah, I've had a few people. I'm really keen to hear more on this.
So we'll go over, this is what distinguishes the Parachute Regiment over the other regiments then. So, because a lot of the infantry stuff that you do is similar to what the others do, but then you've got the extended training, extra hard PT, and then the selection, which is to basically select the very best of the best, the fittest, the strongest, the most aggressive. And the event's called P Company, and it's at week 20 now. I can't remember if it was at week 20 when I did it, because it changes somewhat, but it's now at week 20, and it's 5 days long. The 4 weeks before that are P Company build up. So you basically do most of the events beforehand and some. Do you know what I mean? So you should theoretically be prepared. And then you get to start a P Company. So day one, the very first thing you do is a 10-mile tab. Tab. So that's a 10 miles walk and run. So you got to do it in 1 hour 50. And that's with 35 pound on your back, as well as as well as rifle. And water. So on top of that, it's quite a considerable amount more than that. And that's a quick pace. That's the Parachute Regiment bread and butter. That is 10 miles. And I think they come in just under that, and then the stragglers come in. And then they get slightly less points. So you don't know how many points you're getting, you see, because when you do P Company, you have a whole separate team that assess you. So you have your depot staff that take you through. But obviously they're invested in you a little bit. You don't think that at the time. You think they fucking hate you. They think you don't want. But really they don't. They're just trying to break you. They're trying to break you. So we get rid of all the weak ones, because they only want the best to work with them. So your P Company staff are totally neutral. They've never seen you before. They don't care. You're just another number. You have a number on your helmet, on your front, and you're referred to by that number. That is it. There's no emotional connection, no well dones. You're never told well done if you've done well. Absolutely not. But you're certainly told if you're not doing stuff well. Do you know what I mean? And so you do the 10 miler on the first day, followed by that. We did, I think it's the Trinasium you do on the next one. Might get these slightly, if I'm slightly wrong in the order, I'm sure someone picked me up in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it might not have been this order when I did it, but this is what the order is now. Then you do the Trinasium afterwards, which is an aerial assault course. So this is a pass or fail event. This is to see if you've got confidence up in heights. So you have to kind of run across a plank of wood, jump a 6 foot gap, run across another one, punch into a Tarzan net thing. Then you have to do an illusion jump. So you have to jump from one point to another. And because one point's higher than the other, you're jumping down. So it looks like you can't make it, but because you've got the downward momentum as well, you actually go further than you think and you make it. That's a pretty tricky one. But the main one's called the shuffle bars, and that's 66 foot up in the air, and you just literally need to stand on them like that, shuffle your way across. They actually had it on the SESU days the other day. Did you watch this? That's it. That's a Parachute Regiment, one off the Trinasium. You touch your toes, stand back up, say your name, rank and number. Oh, you might do that at the start. Shout it confidently, no messing about. And then you step over these 2 little points that are on the bars, make your way to the end. All with confidence. You can't be messing about up there looking scared. Not allowed to show any fear, any hesitation. You'll just be sent back up there again. And if you don't do it well enough, you can fail and you're just off P Company.
Is that right?
Yeah, you've just failed the event. Pass or fail, that one is. Because you're going to jump out planes, aren't you? You can't navigate that. So that's day one. Day two then is the log run. Now that is a horrible event. So the log run is you big telegraph pole. I think there's 8 of you on it. Can't remember. It might be slightly different numbers. And you've got these these ropes that you basically put your hands through. Grab hold of it. So there's one of you each side on each rope, and then there's a few of you there. And it's a sprint. You've got your helmet on as well. You've got webbing, and I can't even remember if you've got your rifle slinged or not on that one. I don't think you do. But you've got this fucking log anyway.
Yeah,
fully
that's enough.
And you have to sprint with it. And it's not flat. It's like up and down. Really arduous kind of terrain, through puddles, up big. You're literally on your fingernails to get up some parts of it. And you have to have, when you do it, you've got to have your hand. It needs to be behind you. So you're pulling the log. Yeah. If it's level with you, you're not adding to the pulling the log. And if the hand is in front of you, then basically you're adding to the weight of the log. So you'll get chalked off. They'll just chalk, boom. As soon as your arm is not behind you and you're not adding to the pulling of the log, you get chalked. You get 2 chalks, third one, you're off the event, you failed that event. So That's the log run.
And how long was that? How long's the log run?
That is about just under 2 miles, I think. So it's about 15, 20 minutes. I can't remember how long it takes, but it feels like forever.
Yeah.
And it's as soon as you start, it's fucking nails. You're like, oh my God.
Straight away you're like, Jesus Christ. Okay.
And the warm-ups are horrendous anyway. And it's nervous energy and you're getting nothing to back off anyone. No one's going, come on, lads, you can do it. Like, you're getting nothing. They are not.
Are you clocking other people going, I don't care about you, I want to beat you? The other people in there?
Yeah,
is there competition as well? Do you feel like you're competing? Like...
There is, but that is a team event, that one. So there's a couple of team events, and what they want to see is that you are doing, if you're stronger, do more than everyone else.
Right, okay.
They don't. It's not about, you know, you can't do the log on an individual basis, because what happens is as you're doing it, very rarely does everybody finish on the log. Say if there's 8 of you on there, can't remember the exact numbers, I think it's 8. And 2 of you have got chalked off. You have 6 of you carrying that log.
Okay.
In some cases, there are 3 people or 2 people on the log, and the DS, the staff, are jumping on it as well. So those guys who get to the end with 2 or 3 of them on the log, they're going to score more points because that's what a paratrooper is about: digging in and giving more if you've got it. You know, if you've got more, do more, because you could be saving somebody's life. I think it's to simulate moving ammunition like at speed.
Yeah.
So there's that event. That's the second day in the morning. And then in the afternoon, you do what's called the steeplechase, which is, I think it's 1.8 miles. That is done in helmet, boots. I can't remember if you've got webbing or not, or that, or some, I don't know if you've got webbing on for that one. But you don't need it. You're jumping into puddles, you're breaking the ice when it's winter, like it, you know.
You're saying puddles?
Oh yeah,
puddle for me is I walk my dog through a little bit. You're talking
so like wasteland.
Ditches.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like water obstacles. So you'll climb over climb over something, jump in the water, run around it so you're soaked.
Yeah, okay.
And then you're going through all the different terrains, and then there's an assault course at the end to finish.
Right.
So and you've got I think you've got to do it in 18 minutes or something like that. And it's
this is still on the second day.
This is on the second day. But because the log absolutely expends all your energy, like sometimes that can catch people out because you're just depleted totally at that point.
And you can't show any weakness about it. Once you finish, you lay on the floor, go, there's none of that. You've got to keep standing, walking.
Up, head up, hands behind your back. Yeah. You can't bend over or ask for a drink or show any weakness or, you know, look out of breath. You have to stand there solid, you know.
You're saying like it's a team part of that. Do you think you're looking at your mates going, I'm fitter than you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
That's the only reason I got through it, because I knew at that point, getting towards P Company, I was one of the fitter ones. So I knew I was in the top echelon of fitness when it got right in the very top. So I thought, fucking someone's got to pass.
Yeah.
That's the way I was thinking about it. But then you've got your demons in your mind that don't, like, they never, at that stage when I was younger, because I hadn't done anything substantial, they were quite negative, as they are for a lot of people, until you've consistently done lots of positive things that are big and out of your comfort zone. Your internal dialogue flips a bit then. Like mine's quite different now. You know, mine's quite positive. It's like, you fucking do this. Come on, let's do it. No problem. You got this. You're going to smash it. When it wasn't like that then. It was quite a lot of demons I was fighting at that stage. So that was the hardest battle. And it can be the downfall for a lot of people. That certainly can, because when you get to P Company, everyone's injured. Let's be honest. Like, you're doing some horrendous training. Most people are carrying some type of an injury. You don't sleep because you're shitting yourself. All you hear is these horror stories about it. So someone's like, you get up for the first day of P Company, I haven't slept. All right, and it's in some people's minds then, and my ankle's bad. Right, so fucking what? Yeah. No matter what happens, you've got to be able to perform when everything goes wrong. And this is one important lesson I've learned. What can go wrong will go wrong, and you have to factor that into anything in life if you want to succeed. You have to overcome all the adversity, all the negative, all the things that are going to go wrong, and still do it, even on your worst day. So the steeplechase, that finishes, that's day 2. Day 3 is what's called the 2-miler. So that is full kit. Again, I can't remember the full weight, but you've got your weapon, you've got day sack, and I think you've got day sack and webbing on, helmet. I think you might even have body armor as well, and your weapon. And that is just like a flipping sprint for 2 miles. As fast as you can in boots, and I think that's about 18 minutes, but that doesn't sound that fast. But when you're loaded, it's not flat. You're going up and down. The terrain is, a lot of it's just flipping, you know, uphill at some points as well. And you've got to get in under the 8 minutes to get the full points.
How many kg extra are you carrying on you, roughly, would you say, on something like that, so I can visualize it in my head and listeners
kilograms.
Can visualize,
I can't remember in kilograms, but it was
like, if you added it all up, you're talking another 10, 15 kg.
What with
your gun, with your helmet, with
Oh,
your
yeah,
backpack, with everything?
Oh yeah, all that's definitely adding up to probably somewhere around that.
Yeah.
I don't work in kilograms. I'm old school still.
Yeah.
It was all I think they work it more in kilograms now, but it was all pounds when I was.
Double it. So like
Yeah.
30 pound. 30
Well,
pound.
your Bergen would be £35. That's
Okay.
just your Bergen, and then you've got your weapon, and then you have your water. You normally have 2 water bottles,
Right,
and
okay.
they're heavy. Do you know what I mean? So any water you've got, and your or any food that's in there.
So
as
north
well.
of £40, 40, 50,
Oh, what,
45
about
pound.
50, I think, something like that, maybe even more.
Wow.
I think the weapon's about £9.
Wow.
Again, don't quote me on all
So if you put a training vest on, it's a 10 kg and you're doing pull-ups, you can feel that.
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
way
doing
more
it
than
with is pretty much double, triple that.
Yeah, that's it. It really makes, and you got boots on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got boots on, and you're totally depleted at this stage. You're not the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Like they build you up to, but what they're doing is you're fucking exhausted by the time you get to start these tests.
Yeah.
And then you've got to perform. So like I said, it's all right being an athlete when everything's stacked in your favor.
Yeah.
Being a soldier and being a paratrooper is not like being an athlete. And some of the athletes fall short because they're not getting all the sleep they need. They're not getting perfect nutrition.
Yeah.
They're not getting everything stacked up in their favor and a little massage and loads of positive reinforcements before you're getting none of that. Everything's shit.
Yeah.
Everything's bad. And then you've still got to perform.
Yeah.
So day 3 then was the 2-miler. Then we go on to day 4, which is the 20-miler. Okay, so that's quite a long one. So we're going to the endurance phase then. So you do 20 miles with all your full kit again over arduous terrains, like big, not mountains as such, but like big hills. That's got to be done in 4.5 hours. So it's pretty fast paced, to be fair. I think the Marines do 30 miles in 8 hours. So we're doing 20 miles in 4.5 hours.
Wow.
So you can get an idea of the pace. Theirs is still cheeky as well, though.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to compare in any way because they are good lads, but it's a different event, and that is a fairly quick pace for such a long journey, but it's fucking boring, and your demons can come out at that stage. Yeah. And if you've got any little niggling injuries,
you can really feel everything.
They're going to bring it.
What's the most annoying niggle injury? Is it actually on your feet, do you think? In your boot?
Yeah, so I had all sorts. My ankles, I used to always go over on my ankles.
Yeah.
So that was a nightmare. And blisters, like if you haven't got
They're
blisters,
a pain in the arse, aren't they?
And if you haven't got a blister by that one, you definitely got one by the end of it. So that's with your full weight as well. You cut around on that one. You finish that event, and that's all you do. There's that one event for that day. Then you have the last day. So this is the pinnacle day.
So this is coming to day 5 now.
Day 5, the very last day. They've changed the order somewhat now from when I did it. So what they do now, the stretcher run. So the stretcher race is a brilliant race. It's probably one of my favourite events on P Company for me. It's one of the hardest, I'd say. It's a team event as well. So you have a big stretcher. I think that's about £180, something around those. Might be, again, it's about the weight of a bloke, basically, a normal bloke. And it's to simulate moving a casualty off the battlefield. And you have, I think you're in teams of like 12 or 16. I can't remember the exact numbers. So 4 of you at a time are on this stretcher. And again, you've got your helmet on, you've got your boots. I think you've got your weapons. You might even have webbing and weapons on this one. I can't remember exactly. Again, someone I'm sure will put in the comments the exact amounts. And you're running with this stretcher, sprinting. And it's the same terrain as the log's on, but this is 5 miles, this. So 4 of you at a time. The rest of your group is running next to you. And it's a sprint, everything you've got. Then the DS shout change. Then the next 4 come on. They're fresh and they just fuck off with your stretcher.
And you got to follow them.
The hardest thing is then you've given everything is staying with that stretcher. You're like, what? They're just gone. And people just end up falling back and they get chalked off and then they're off the event.
Even on day 5?
Yeah, you still get chalked off and you can leave.
Wow.
You're not free. You're not done until you've crossed the finish line.
So you've got to be mentally tough.
Because you can drop at any stage, and you're going to have an injury. Like I've said, all your injuries are going to be out on this point, aren't they? So you've got to overcome all this kind of adversity.
Because that exertion you're giving out when you're giving everything with the stretcher, and you're like, I'm fucked. My God. Yeah. Drop, go. And now they're sprinting because they've got the energy and you're following and chasing them.
Exactly. And then
how long was that going for?
So it's 5 miles. So I can't remember actually how long it'll be, but it's over an hour. Yeah. It's fucking long and it's hard. And then toward the last couple of miles, it all goes to rat shit because you're not in your fours. People have been choked off and you just stay on. Like I always say, if you've got more, give more. And that's what they want to see. Don't think, it's unfair. Like I've already been on the stretcher. They're not looking for that. They're looking for someone who's going to give selflessly. And it's a good way of thinking for life as well. This is, it really does set you up, and there's a reason why they do it. So, and then you just stay on and you just grizz it out. And I can remember you just see the finish line. And for me, when I did it, that was the very last event of the P company, but they changed the events now. So, and just saw the end, and I got to the end, I was like, oh, fucking, I finished. Hopefully I passed. Because the last event of the day is is milling. So if you heard of that before, milling is when you fight for 1 minute, 16 ounce gloves on.
You have head guards on.
You do now, you have head guards. It's all sanctioned under boxing, you see. 16 ounce gloves. We didn't have head guards when we did. It's changed. It's still hard. It doesn't make a difference. And you've got 1 minute of pure aggression. You're not allowed to block. You're not allowed to hit to the body, only to the face. You must go forward, and you're not allowed to stop punching. You must give everything you've got in every punch, and they match you well. And they do grudge matches as well. So if you've got someone you want to mill, then they can get you to
quality.
To mill it. And if you win, if you do too well at it, they can put you in against, other people. Some people mill twice if the numbers are odd. So fucking what happens in life? Life's unfair. Get used to it. Say thank you. Do you know what I mean? That is all you're getting.
Is that all you're getting?
Yeah, that's all you're getting. Aren't you lucky? Well done. You get to do it twice. So you got a minute and you go toe to toe. And this is what another event that really distinguishes the Parachute Regiment, because you've got to go for it. Full on aggression, 1 minute, and it's the very last event of for now. This is the very last event. And the only thing stopping you from passing is the person in front of you. And they get you all psyched up first, shouting at each other, slapping. Actually, slaps are not officially allowed to slap each other. You don't slap each other if anyone's watching. You shout, you scream, you're in each other's face. They're getting you rolled up. And then you're shouting and screaming. They're playing Ride of the Valkyries, the Parachute Regiment song, full blast. And you're near the finish. And the fights are brilliant. They just go for it. There's you bloody noses and people getting knocked out. But it's 16 ounce gloves. They're big, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? So people are getting stuck into each other. But what they want to see is controlled aggression. They don't want to see someone just going off their nut and then you can't pull them off them and then start hitting everyone around them. You've got it. They literally go mill or box, whatever the command is to go, and then they go stop. And when they say stop, you immediately pull back, spring to attention, and stop everything. No emotion. You can't be showing you have to be passive. You have to go from fucking psychotic to passive in an instant. Do you know what I mean? So, quality. And it's good. It's because that's what it's like as a soldier. You've got to be able to
discipline. Ultimately,
you've got to be able to apply extreme violence in an instant, and then you might have to pull back and administer first aid to a child. So you can't be you've got to be able to pull yourself in one state and into another. So you need to be an absolute master of your own emotions. Do you know what I mean? In order to be able to do that. So that's the last event then, the milling, and that's great fun. And everyone comes to, all the staff go and watch that. They're having little bets and that. If someone thought they were hard throughout training, you better had be, because you're going to get fucking found out now. And there might be a few handbags in there as well that they're shocked about, or there might be some dark horses. There's normally some dark horses that are quiet, and they're filling the guys in. So it's good and it's all fun. And it's skins versus top. So one has the top off, the other one doesn't. And that's the last event. And then you go on the square, and then you find out if you pass, because still not everyone passes. You can get all the way to the end.
So you can get there and do that and still find out you might not pass.
The pass rate and the failure rate is surprising. I've spoken to people now. I can't remember what the pass or fail rate was at that stage, because you're losing people all the way through. I think about 70 or 80% of ours passed, which is quite high. But I've spoke to someone recently, and there were 50% of the guys that had started P Company had actually. And
how many people started with you?
I can't remember
roughly.
Numbers
are
now.
Are we talking 100? Are we talking 50s? Are we talking 20 people?
No, we were quite undermanned at that stage. Okay. We were quite smaller groups. There was no wars on or anything. So it was quite undermanned. We were low in start. I can't remember how many started, but from the original group that started with us, there's probably about 8 or 9 that passed all the way through. And then obviously bearing in mind people had joined from other platoons and stuff as well. I can't remember how many started, 40, 50, something like that. And then others jumping in all the way through. So they're not very good odds, to be honest with you. So you go on the square, and then they'll go, shout your name out. They'll say, pass. Brilliant. Stand to attention. No emotions. You can't go, yay, or start clapping.
High-fiving each other.
That'll turn that into a fail, I'm pretty sure. You have to, emotionless. And if you fail, you're not allowed to go, oh, fuck. You have to, just nothing. You have to, I can't remember what you do. I think you stand to attention, turn to your right, fucking march yourself off, go in the loser's corner away from everybody else. And they hold them away. Then they stay away and they watch in while everyone else gets presented their berries.
Wow.
So it's pretty harsh.
Wow,
pretty harsh.
That's quality to hear. What's the movement after that then?
So,
where are you based? Where did you go?
It's at Catterick, so the depots.
Where's that?
That is up north. Yeah, well, everything's up north
Up
for
north,
you, isn't it?
yeah.
So Catterick. It's
Major city near it?
Darlington. Heard of that one?
Okay.
That's another problem. You're from
way
down
up
south.
north, isn't it? That's
Mile,
way up
it's
north.
Up north, yeah. So yeah.
So
in and
when you're there, then are you then waiting to go on tour? When did you first go on your first tour, and where was it?
So we passed out. We did all the live firing, all the really good soldiery stuff after that, all the exercises, live firing. Pass out, went to your battalion. I went to 3 para in the summer of 95 it was. We were based at Dover, so that was great. It was on what was called the AMFL role at the time, so we were Arctic warfare training. The main other 2, 1 and 2 para at the time, we were 5 Airborne Brigade in Aldershot.
Yeah.
So they do whatever the brigade are doing. And we're out of brigade role. So we were doing, once a year we'd go to Norway, and we did 3 months in Norway learning to soldier in the snow, which is fucking hard going, to be fair. It's just shit and cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Soldiering is pretty shit and horrible, but after a bit you start learning to love it, especially as a paratrooper. Do you know what I mean? You can't be moaning about stuff. You have to take pride in the fact that what we do is shit and hard. No one wants to do it.
Yeah.
And after a bit, you just think, actually, it's just shit and hard, isn't it? Yeah, do you know what I mean? But it is, you're brainwashed. You're like, yeah, this is great, isn't it?
Great, yeah.
We got the worst barracks out of everyone. Yeah. You know, we got no heat. We had no hot water the whole time we were in Dover in support company. We'd come back and we'd have to have cold showers. Oh, and they tried to put the immigrants, you know, those are like a lot of immigration over in Dover, and they went to put them into the block and they wouldn't go because it wasn't fit for humans to live in.
But you lot were in there.
We were in there for years. Yeah, for years. So so we didn't mind, and the sergeant majors and that don't mind. It keeps them raw and like ready, doesn't it? You don't want them comfortable. Yeah. You know, don't want things too easy for them. So we did our first tour in Northern Ireland. I think it was about 97 in the Ardoyne. So it was getting towards the end when the peace process was on. So there wasn't too much going on then. Still great though. You were actually experiencing going on the ground. There's still a lot of hostility. No contacts or anything at that point because there was the ceasefire had just started. But there's loads of kickoffs and that, people trying to get pissed and try and take your weapon off you or whatever. Okay. So you had to was patrolling down the streets, and it could be like you're being bricks. So you might only see 2 or 3 of you in yours, and in the other street there might be another 3 or so people, but there might be 3 of you and you're walking down a nightclub at kicking out time. You probably shouldn't have done that. But we did, because we want to see what's going on, don't you? Let's see where we can push some situations to happen. You know, we're not starting it, but flipping hell, so everyone's pissed, they're all coming out, fucking everyone hates you. So you just have to look hard, look like you're not bothered by anything, even though your heart's like that, obviously. So that was fun. That was a good little tester. Then all the Balkans stuff started happening in Kosovo.
So you were in Ireland. How long were you in Ireland for?
It was a 6-month tour, but it got cut short. We only did 4.
Okay. And what sort of hostility was it towards you? It
was quite weird actually, because you'd go down some of the streets when you're patrolling. You have to know who all the players are. It's really enjoyable because it's, you know, you get briefed up. You'll see pictures of everyone. You go, right, these are the IRA. That's all their associates are. And you're going on the floor and you're just basically trying to track movements at that stage of, we've seen so-and-so, he was with so-and-so and they were there. And then you track that down and they can create an intelligence picture. And they're just trying to join the dots then. So if something happens, they know that these guys have been seen together and they might be planning something. So that was enjoyable for that side of things, to actually put your job into practice. But there was no real major threat. I'm saying there's always a threat of life, because if they could get your weapon off you, they would. Do you know what I mean? Paratroopers, they're not very liked over in Northern Ireland with what happened with Bloody Sunday, obviously. Sunday,
So what was your movement then? Did you come back? You didn't really need to decompress from something like that, did you?
Not really.
Were you at that point where you're going, I'm really hungry now, get me to another country?
So we enjoyed that. So then we came back. We did loads of stuff. There was away all over the place. We went to Canada multiple times just for training exercises. That's brilliant. I loved it as a young man. Did adventure training in the Rockies. Then we went and did R&R in some of the big cities like Vancouver and Edmonton. So it was great as a young man, because they just loved you over there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because you're British.
Yeah.
So we did all that. And then Kosovo kicked off, 99. I'd done my junior NCO, so I was a Lance Corporal at that point. Trained up to be a PTI, which I get onto afterwards. So we went to Kosovo. and we were
Where is Kosovo?
So it's in the Balkans area, basically. So former Yugoslavia, all around that area.
Yeah.
So Bosnia, it's all in and around that kind of area, and there was all sorts of instability, wasn't there, going on at that stage, and there was ethnic cleansing going on, basically. It was the Serbs with the local Muslim populations, and they were horrendous what they were doing. I mean, when we went over there, I didn't really know when I was young what was going on. You just got sent there, and then you learn as you're going over. But they were ethnically cleansing. All the police would arrest people, and they'd never be seen again. They'd be tortured. We actually stayed, one of the times we were staying in like a blown up, a whole old abandoned school. So we're just making our own showers out of hose pipes and Coca-Cola bottles to cut off with, so we're like adapting. It was great though. You made your own little bed space up, got comfortable for the time, went out on patrols from there, and then we stayed in this old abandoned police station for a few days. I'd say that's the only time I've ever been spooked by anything, so I'm not really spooked, but downstairs in the police station was a torture chamber. So, and we'd seen loads of mass graves, and there was like dead bodies everywhere when we got there. Whole families had been executed, kids, old people, the kneecapped first, you know what I mean? So, and we were all experiencing this because we were broken off. We were one para, and a company of 3 para had gone in. So it was horrendous. But in this police station, there was pictures of all the people that they'd captured. So the police had arrested these people, and they took pictures of them all. Fucking hell, they looked sad. They obviously knew they were not coming back from that again. And there's a mattress on the floor, blood stained. There's machetes, blood stained. Johnny's all over the floor, used. And just think, fucking hell,
Jesus.
And I went for a run, because it was like, I went for a run up and down the stairs. It was about 7 stories high. I can't remember what it was. And I was just like running up and down it, and it started to get dark. And as it got dark, I thought, fucking hell, this is a bit creepy. If anywhere's going to be haunted, fucking it's
this
here.
Place,
yeah, do you know what I mean? But before we even, an interesting story about Kosovo, which a lot of people don't know about, before we even got into the place, we were getting sent over. We're on the border of Macedonia. So the Parachute Regiment, which was 1 para, a company of 3 para, we were spearheading the whole of NATO. So we were the spearhead for NATO, because they know if shit's going down, you send in the paras in first. And it was going to be hostile, they thought, to start with. In the end, it wasn't that bad, because a lot of the Serbs just all fucked off when they seen us. We patrolled straight over to some of their positions, and that they were having none of it. We're trying to instigate some fucking violence that we were all ready for, but they knew not to fuck with us. So we were on the border of Macedonia, and my brother was actually in 1 para at the time. He was an officer. So he was an officer in 1 para, just got to 1 para. So I went and had a brew with him. We're sat in Macedonia, mate. We've been a week or two where they're doing all the logistics, and you're bombing up, you're getting your ammunition, you're getting your briefs. And when we were there, they said, right, yeah, we're gonna go into Pristina Airport first of all, make sure we've got that and we've secured it. And we were waiting to get the orders to go over, and then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. And they said, and we got our orders from all the head shed, and they said the Russians are airborne. Their paratroopers are airborne, and they're on the way to Pristina Airport. So the sneaky Russians, not part of NATO, but they wanted to be on the ground to kind of be involved in the peacekeeping, because they were friends with the Serbs. So they just wanted to make sure that they were there. And they've said, right, you're going to go in. So you're going to go in, and they're going to be already landed by the time you get there. But we're going to land on the runway. You can't go off the runway though, because it's mined everywhere. And you're going to have a massive face off with the Russians. Well, then we really gave us orders. We thought, are we going to shoot them? Are they going to shoot us? We're just going to go off and have a face off with the Russians. How does this doesn't happen with paratroopers? They are worry bastards. They are not going there to do any type of, bravado. They're going in there for the business. So I thought, our guys are not, they're going to go, and they're just going to, someone crazy bastard's just going to send some rounds down. It's going to go off. And they knew that. And I think it was General Jackson, who was a paratrooper, who's the general in charge of the army at the time. He knew what the paras are like, and he said, I'm not going to be responsible for World War III. And they just sacked it all at the last minute. So all the Chinooks were there. They're all on, loads of them. I've never seen anything like it. People running around, bombed up for it. This is it, lads. We're going in now against the Russians. I thought,
oh, God.
And I remember it was 1999, wasn't it? And I think Nostradamus had predicted the end of the world. Then I thought, oh shit, maybe he's right.
I'm going to be the instigator.
But it all got sacked last minute. They let the Russians went in, and then we went in afterwards on vehicles. And then they were there, and they were fucking idiots. And they were drunk on patrols. They hadn't been paid for a bit. Their morale was down. And they would like drive the tanks towards you, then move at the last minute, and we wouldn't move. Like, so when you're on patrol, it was more like, where the Russians? Like, let's go find the Russians. So it did keep you on your toes, though. It was crazy.
How long were you in Kosovo for?
2 months. Went in there, did the business, and then they sent all the regiments in then afterwards to kind of take over.
How old were you at this point?
I think I was about early 20s, 22, something like that. 23.
And you were
maybe.
game.
Oh yeah, that was fucking brilliant. You're well game at that stage.
Yeah.
Like, by the time when you don't join to go to war, but when you're in there and you're trained, you want to try your skills out. Then it's like training your martial arts and not fighting.
Yeah.
Or being a firefighter, just drilling and never putting a fire out.
Yeah.
So
what was your movement when you come back from Kosovo?
So I was then I was qualified as a PTI. So I then went to the depot to train the recruits. And that was brilliant. So I did that for about a year before I got out then. So I was in my mid-20s. Got out when I was about 20, and just before I was 26.
What made you go, right, I've done that bit. It's the next chapter of my life?
Well, that's a good question, because I've been on 2 operations. I'd become a junior NCO and I've been a PTI, and they were the main boxes that I wanted to tick. I really wanted to do that. And there didn't seem like much more was happening, I thought, because it wasn't really that turbulent of a time, to be honest with you. And I thought, are we going to get a couple of little maybe Bucksy missions that are like this? So I got out. I was married and had a kid on the way. And I also had the opportunity to start teaching martial arts, because I started training with some people, started fighting again while I was in, and was doing really well. And then I had the opportunity to start teaching, because people were starting to teach martial arts professionally at that stage. And before that was unheard of. But all these gurus were coming over from America.
That's right.
Multi-millionaires.
That's right. So wow. Early 2000s, this wasn't
early
it?
2000s.
Because that MMA wasn't even
wasn't around
about.
then. Yeah. If it had been, I would have just liked to have fought.
Yeah.
And just got paid for it like you could now.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I just wanted to fight. But teaching was, you had to teach to make money. And I just remembered I needed enough money to pay for I got a mortgage before I got out, because I knew that once I'd got out, I was self-employed. You need like 2 years books or whatever. Yeah. So while I was in the army, they didn't know I'd signed off, got the mortgage. So brilliant, sorted. Yeah. Now I just need to be able to pay for it. Yeah. So I needed about 50 students, I think. So I think I needed 50. And I think I had about 3 or 4 months off where I was paid by the army and I wasn't actually having to do anything. Yeah. So I thought, right, that gives me the time to build it all up. And I'd done it. I'd got about 150 students at that stage. So I was already earning more than I was earning in the army. Yeah. So, and I was like, oh, that's all I wanted.
Good for
I didn't
you.
do it for money. All I wanted to do was pay enough so I could be out of the military then, support my family with what I was doing. And I never had any money. So I wasn't bothered about money. I just wanted to fight. That's all I wanted to do. And with the mindset I'd got and the person that I'd now become, the level of discipline and commitment and obsession that I had towards something, I just applied that straight into my fighting, but then also into my business. I was getting coached and mentored by people about how to make, what you're doing into a proper living. Yeah. And I was like, because I'd never come from money. I lived in council estates, didn't I? So it wasn't a priority of mine. But then someone told me you can make money, and I thought, okay, all right, then how do I do that? Because I'm a traditional, I'm into martial arts. I don't want to lose my integrity, because I don't want to just make it into something that's a money making machine. I want to be able to do what I've done with the same value and ethos that I have as a person from my military background. And that's where my organisation was spawned, which is called British Military Martial Arts.
And is that British Military Martial Arts, is that what you set up back then and grown over the last 20 years?
That's right, yeah. It wasn't called that then. Yeah. I've rebranded since and made it that. It was just myself starting off.
When in the early 2000s, we had Mike Bisping on.
Oh, yeah, Mike Bisping.
Oh, we had a right laugh. Proper good bloke. But he was saying, it was pretty much like yourself, tough lad from up north Manchester way. He didn't know nothing about MMA. All of a sudden, MMA come on the scene. He was like, I want a piece of this. Yeah. I'm a good fighter. I win all my fights. Give me a piece of this. And end up going out to America. Now look at him now, like multi-millionaire and done what he's done. Was there ever a period like in the UK, it wasn't really about. Was there ever a period you go, I fancy a bit of this mixed martial arts, or was that not your bag? Was the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu not your bag, or what were you thinking at that time?
So what had happened? It's a good question. I actually did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a few years when it first came over.
Yeah,
it's like in the probably the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It probably might have been over before that, but it still wasn't that mainstream
right.
at this stage. It was a guy called Brolio Estima, so I'm still in contact with him. He's actually forwarded my book. He's a really good guy, and he's probably one of the very best in the UK. He's quite well known. So I did that with him for a few years, and but MMA wasn't really
a thing.
Big
really.
then. It wasn't big.
Yeah.
And I was, by the time it got bigger, I was like 28, and I thought, I had contemplated it, but I was a bit too far down my current avenue to kind of.
And that was pure kickboxing.
Just kickboxing, yeah. And I've done various parts. I've done points, continuous, and full contact, and I've won titles in all of them, British, European, and world titles. So that was my thing, striking.
That's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much, mate.
Because when we're all on our own journey. You're on your journey.
Yeah.
Bigger, better, want more. Actually, sometimes to stop and reflect and go, I was a world champion.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, right?
Well, it is. You know what, though? And it's not until recently now I've looked back and actually give myself some credit for stuff, because I never did. Because I'll tell you why. With a lot of what I did was mat sports. You know what mat sports is? Where you fight on a mat, and it's like a draw sheet, a tournament. Yep. So if you win, you go to the next round. If you lose, you're out. So you'd fight in events, and bearing in mind, every one of my friends, we fought for Great Britain. I was on the Great Britain squad, the WACA Great Britain squad for 10, maybe even 12 years with the very best in the world. These guys are out. Everyone's outstanding. So you're not special.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you fight, you win. It's only the winner who doesn't lose a fight in that event.
Okay.
And then I wouldn't fight in one event. I'd fight in two events. I'd fight in my minus 94s, plus 94s. Then I'd fight in the open weight. The open weight is all of the people from all of the weights. In points, they can do this, you see. You can't do it in light contact or full. Then you would, all of those would fight in that as well. So only one person would win out of that. And then I'd fight in a team event. So it'd have loads and loads of mat time. I've probably done, I haven't worked it out properly, but probably about 600 or 700 individual actual fights.
Have you had 600 fights?
Probably. Because if you think about the tournaments, I worked out for all the years, we'd fight every weekend, and I'd fight in 3, 4, 5 sections. And each section, you're having multiple fights.
Yeah. So this is actually in tournament, let alone in training and fighting and sparring.
Oh, yeah, that's just actual competitive fight. But that's not unusual for the level of people that we're all the same. This is what I mean. You don't really reflect back. And I might have been world champion, but my best mate was multiple world champion in other associations as well. So you never really rest on your laurels and sit and think about what you're doing. But it's not until afterwards you look back and go, yeah, look at what I've done. That's good. But what people don't see is all the losses, all the failure, all the nights that you're awake, thinking, analysing. And I fucking hate losing so much. Yeah. But like I explained, you'd lose. Like one person wouldn't lose at every event, the winner of the open weight. Yeah. And so you'd be literally, there's always something to come back to and reflect and work. And it's a very, very humbling experience to go through. So anyone who does any mat sports like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate, taekwondo, kickboxing, they'll even any mat sport where it's a draw sheet, anything where it's a draw sheet and you can compete and fight, it does build up a certain amount of robustness. Yeah, I bet. Because if you think about a boxer, a pro boxer, you know, what they do is they want to keep that zero on there, don't they? As much so the fights are kind of
pick and choose.
Yeah, and you build them up appropriately, don't you? So I'm not like disrespected because it's brilliant. This is what you do with pro boxing. You're stupid if you do it any other way. They want to keep the zero. Yeah. So you build people up appropriately at the right time. So they might see somebody who's got 20-0, but look at their amateur record. I bet it's not a zero on that. Yeah. Or they would have lost substantial amounts as an amateur. Yeah. Because that is where you improve and grow, and you've got to lose to get good at something. The people that are right at the very top have lost way more than the average person. Yeah. Way more. So you just see the person at the top of any particular avenue of sport or success in anything, and you see the finished result and you think, oh, that person's a winner. You don't realize that they've lost more than anybody to get to that point. To actually be a winner.
What sort of money can you earn in your game?
Oh, fuck all, it has. Yeah.
It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a few things that are happening now. It's changing somewhat. that's why people are moving over to MMA. One of our teammates, Michael Venom Page, went over to Bellator. I don't know if you follow MMA at all. Do you know MVP? So he moved over. Then there was another guy from America, Raymond Daniels. He was sponsored with us with Top 10. He moved over. He's still fighting now as well. So these guys have done really well, come from our background. And there's a few others in America. And one of my students, Elijah Everell, he's probably one of the, if not the most successful mat sport fighter within WACO ever.
What's WACO stand for?
World Association of Kickboxing Organisations. Okay. So, and he's 14 times world champion from junior. 14 times world champion. That's what I said. You don't ever start gobbing off and thinking you're good because you got a world title, because then you got 14.
Yeah.
So I've trained him since he was 4, and I've just literally treated him like a paratrooper.
Okay.
Like and I had a big team of them, and I used to take them everywhere with me, and I would.
How old is he now?
He's now, I think he's 25.
Okay.
And he's just been signed up in America to it's called Karate Combat. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they fight. It's all traditional karate guys, mainly. You've got some points fighting guys, and you've also got a few of the full contact ones coming in, and they fight in this area. It's brilliant. And it's kind of like a pit.
Yeah.
So you haven't got like they've got in MMA, you've got like an octagon, and then you've got a ring for kickboxing, and then mats for mat sports. Yeah. This is like slanted sides, so you can kind of jump on the side, hit them. If you hit them and they fall on the side, it's all game on. You can still bash him. So you have to watch it. It's called Karate Combat.
Okay, I'll have a look
so he's got a contract with them, and
Karate Combat. Okay.
Yeah. So and it's going to be big. It's the next thing. You've got Bellator. You've got obviously UFC, and then this has come through, and they've got their own niche. They're not trying to compete with them. The showmanship of it is amazing. The standard of the guys are all multiple karate world champions or whatever their background is. They're the champion of something. They come in, and then it's full contact rules. You can hit them on the floor, but you got like a 3-second, and you can take them down as well. But it's mainly the striking. So Elijah did his first fight there. And won it, knocked him out in about 30 seconds.
Wow.
So, and
he's a 14-time world champion.
Yeah, he is.
Can he go on and earn a good pound note in that, do you think?
Now they can. Is it
only in America, is it?
Well, at the minute, really.
That's where the money's at.
Yeah,
okay.
So he's actually fighting in Las Vegas in December, so I'll be going to watch him definitely going to that one to watch him. So that'll be his second fight, and then he'll win. He'll win the league. That's what he's
what's he like? If he coming in now in the room, would you know he was a 14-time world kickboxing champion? Has he got that look in has he got that glint that he knows he can handle himself?
So Elijah's a very, very humble young man.
Is he quiet? Is he?
Yeah, no. The thing is he's an absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
He's literally removed himself from anything outside of kickboxing.
Brilliant.
He doesn't go out, never.
Yeah.
Doesn't go to the after party and celebrates. He just wins. He doesn't drink. He's never touched a drop of alcohol in his life. He makes some tremendous sacrifices. He trains every day. All his free time is spent researching and watching fighters, the ones he's going to be fighting, so he can figure out what his game.
What's his name? Elijah Everell.
Yeah. So watch out for him.
Yeah.
He is going to be.
Could he flip over into UFC?
Quite possibly. Yeah. He's not sure what he's going to do at this stage.
Is he learning BJJ at the moment?
Yeah, I think he's blue belt at the minute. So he's working his way up. So
what do the colours go in?
Blue, purple, brown, and black.
Blue, purple, brown, black.
Yeah, and I think for Brazilian it is so. But even the blue belts are nails, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you got a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
yeah. Do you know it's funny talking about BJJ? We went up and did Mike Bisping, and we did the cover photo, and it was me and Mike Bisping there, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Rickson Gracie's interviewing Mike Bisping." Rickson Gracie. I was like, who the fuck's Rickson Gracie?
They thought you were
everyone called these comments Rickson Gracie. I googled him. He's like obviously 60 years old now and stuff. Yeah.
You don't look that old, mate.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Make
sure these cameras do good.
Might look a little bit Brazilian.
Brazilian, mate. How did you end up working with Nigel and Conor Benn?
So Nigel Benn used to be the ambassador for my organisation, British Military Martial Arts, probably about 8-10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So he came down on numerous occasions, and we went around. I'd have him for like a couple of days at a time, and we'd just drive around the UK, do seminars together, go to some of my different schools. Conor was a young lad at the time. He was about 15, I think, and he wasn't boxing or anything. He really wanted to box at the time, because we used to take him around with us. But his mum is very religious, and obviously Nigel is the born-again Christians.
Yeah.
And so she was really against it. You know, she'd obviously seen what Nigel had been through in the boxing. And so I don't know how you managed to convert his mum over, but obviously it's great to see him doing it, and it's really good to see him now grown up. He's a hell of a man now, isn't he?
God, unbelievable. What a fighter.
But it's just like his dad.
What a fighter.
Bang.
Yeah.
So I've got a load of respect for him. It was great to see him do so well.
And how good was Nigel back in the day? Even now he's in great nick. What's he, late 50s now?
Yeah.
Something like mid-50s, late 50s? What? Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So he was, he was ex-army as well. Do you know he started off in kickboxing?
Did he?
Yes, he started off in kickboxing. He was trained by Neville Ray, who's like the head vice president for WACO GB, and a friend and someone I've known for a very long time, one of the event organisers for some of the main kickboxing events in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So, and
he was in the military as well, wasn't he?
I think it was the Fusiliers he was in. I can't 100% remember. It was definitely an infantry regiment. And I think from what Connor said, what Nigel Benn said, was he had his first fights in the army as a man.
Milling as well?
No, so they didn't do milling. This was just army boxing. It's flipping like milling though. Army boxing is pretty full on. Like you get scored for coming forwards, and it's a lot of aggression and toe to toe, really fit physical people that are fighting. And he just knocked everyone out, everyone.
What year are we talking here?
When he was boxing, I wouldn't know, to be honest with you. Sorry, I think it's probably when was he?
Early 90s, probably late 80s,
probably
wasn't
the
it?
80s. I would have thought something, and then he obviously realised he was really good at it, like really, really good at it, and then it just went from there, and he went to do it professionally.
And was he just banging people out in the army?
Yeah, it was just everyone. It was just a natural, wasn't he? And then his son, obviously, Connor, just seems to have he's got the same genes in him. It's like watching the same person.
Again, we're going back to it's the same mindset.
Exactly.
Obsessed.
Yeah. And he really wanted to do it for a long, long time. And I know so it must have been his.
It must be hard, though, being Connor, trying to follow in your dad's footsteps, even though you don't want to follow in your dad's footsteps, even though you've got massive respect for your dad. You want to follow in his footsteps, but you want to do it in your way.
Of course, yeah.
And I've got to take huge for him leaving Australia, coming back to the UK by himself, and just been obsessed with training and fighting, while his dad's in Australia still. And it's great to see Nigel back in England now.
It's lovely. Yeah,
mate.
He was back. He was at an event last weekend, actually. Some of my friends saw him. One of my mates, Clifton Finley, was there. Did a little video, Nigel saying hello to us.
Quality.
So it's been a few years since I've seen him, but yeah, he was great.
And we were chatting earlier before the show and stuff. What was your relationship like with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Jean-Claude Van Damme, yeah. So I worked with him as well before Nigel as an ambassador for my organisation. And that was a bit of a story, actually, if you want me to tell you about it. So I think it was 2003. So we'd got him, a friend of mine, he was coming over to the UK, and my friend of mine had managed to get him to come over to our event. So me being me, I thought, right, I'm going to really get some publicity from this. It's in Telford, my hometown. Was at the Oaken Gates Theatre, which is like the big place where comedians come. It's like where you'd go, or if there's bands or whatever. So tiered seating. So I rented the whole place out. I've got loads of other people down as well. I had Brolio's brother Victor Estima was there. I had Richie Woodall was there, one of my heroes.
Same surname, but he's got an H in his.
So he's
from Telford, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So I worked with him. We were business partners for a bit, and he taught me privately in boxing for a few years. He's an outstanding person, just a whole character of him. He's a really great guy.
Yeah.
He's everything. He personifies everything you'd expect from a champion. And then so he was there, and two of my friends as well, Drew Neal and Sam Timmis. They were both top level kickboxers that were in my team, which was called the team that I was part of, called the Top 10 UK team, which was one of the best teams in the world for a few years. So I had all these concurrent activities going on with the kickboxing champions. Richie Woodall was there. There was the grappling going on, and I was selling Jean-Claude Van Damme t-shirts, and we were waiting for him. And so he said, yeah, he'll be over there at 3 o'clock or whatever. We started the event 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was due to come, I don't know, it was like midday or whatever it was. And it was getting towards the time, and I'm like, where is he? And so I rang me mate, and he said, he was standing in a flap. He goes, we're having dramas. Don't worry, I'll get him here. He's just in a bit of a mood. I was like, oh shit, like what's going on? And felt myself like blush and go red. I was like, oh my God, I've got 400 people here all waiting for him. You can definitely get him here, can't you? You can definitely get him here. And he's going, yeah, don't worry. And then nothing had happened, hadn't heard anything. And I rang him back again, and he didn't answer. And I was ringing. I got through, and he goes, mate, he's good to go. He's good. He's going on the plane. He's sulked. Like he's sulking for some reason. I think they said something to him, and he had a bit of a flipping hissy fit and was going to go. So I was like, mate, whatever you do, just get him here, get him in the car, tell him you're taking him there, and just bring him here.
Kidnap him.
Because I'd literally planned the day for him. I'd got him I'd got him to go to Telford United Football Club. I got loads of visitors were going to go there. I had all the press arriving, the TV cameras. So Jean-Claude Van Damme's coming to Telford. I'd pulled loads of strings, doing what I normally do to make it look great. He could get some free publicity. I could get some publicity out of it. Right, that was gone. So all the pre-arranged stuff that I'd had with him, I thought, right, I'll sack that off. As long as he comes, that'll be right. So then got on to him again. This is like an hour and a half after he's meant to be here. And he said, right, we've got him in the car then, like we're on the way, but he says he's not going to do anything. So I was like shitting myself the whole time. And people were waiting then, and people had bought all these t-shirts, and they're going, is he even coming, mate? I want my money back. But luckily the guys that I had there were just filling the gaps, and it was an outstanding seminar anyway, because we had people training and doing stuff with all these other guys, and they were really inspirational. They were helping, they were giving as much of their time and effort and energy to the children as they could, and that was great. And then finally we got him en route, and they said, right, he's fucking like he's got hangover or something, we need to get him some Alka-Seltzer and this, that and the other. So they gave us a big list of stuff we had to get sent me, mate. It was Toby who was with us at the minute. I said, sorry Toby, to be like, but can you do this for me, mate? Go and get me this, that, and the other. And luckily he did. He went away, and then he got all the stuff, and then he arrived, and then they said, listen, when he comes on stage, someone needs to clean the car out for him. I don't know if he'd been fucking sick or something. He'd done something, but the car was a mess. So Toby, me again, was it just saved my life, Toby? Just do this, clean the car for him, help him. Van Damme walked in, like quite small actually. It's mad seeing him. He's bearing in mind, right, Jean-Claude Van Damme is my hero, as he probably was for you and loads of other lads from our generation. He broke the mold, didn't he? Like I watched all of his films. Like he was my absolute hero. I was obsessed with him. Watched all of his films multiple times, and then to meet him was an anticlimax is an understatement. So he was very underdressed, should I say? He had like a t-shirt on, a top, short cropped hair, with glasses on, and he came in finally, just burst into that back end of the changing rooms. And I was like, oh, wow, I was like a bit starstruck as well. I went to shake his hand, put my hand up to shake it, and he didn't even put his hand up. And then I just said, hi, I'm Lee, I'm running the event. And then he put his hand up and then shook us. Toby had gone out to clean his car up and everything. We had the local press had been waiting for hours. They just took a few shots of him, managed to get him coming out of the car and that, because Jean-Claude Van Damme was in Telford. Like, no one comes to Telford. And then I said to him, right, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go on the stage. I'm going to call you out. And then, and then we're going to do this, that, and the other. And he was like, all right. So I was on the stage, and then I got everybody out. Everyone was like, it's a bit of a wait creates anticipation, doesn't it? So we're on the stage, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, finally, I'd like to welcome Mr. And just as I was saying it, just bowled out before I'd even finished it, Jean-Claude Van Damme. And so he came out, and I gave him a microphone. So I gave him the microphone to speak into. And he basically was speaking and talking into the microphone. And someone in the crowd went, speak up, we can't hear you. And I said, I said to the sound guy, I said, is the microphone on? He went, yeah, it's working. Just tell Jean-Claude to put it closer to his mouth. And he was going, the microphone is not working. My terrible French accent. I said, he said,
is he Welsh?
Yeah. And then he'd just gone by Wells. Yeah. So I said, put the microphone right against your lips, he went. And he grabbed the microphone, shoved it into my hand. As he looked me in the eye, went, I'm not going to give the microphone a fucking blowjob. And I remember I felt myself blush. I looked into his eyes, and I just thought, fucking madman. I thought, I've got to get him out of here. He's going to cause catastrophe. And then I thought, right, I've got a clip on mic. Think here. I took that off him. I went, right, unclip this. There's the mic. I said, you speak into this. So he's walking around on the stage, and he obviously has some type of pre-arranged thing that he probably says at lots of different events. And he couldn't really understand what he's saying. I think he was definitely a bit hungover or a bit of something, to be honest.
He likes a party.
Yeah, I think he definitely looked like the day after a really good night, to be honest with you. And he was sweating through he had a light grey top, like bad, the light blue it was, but it's a bad choice because you see all the dark blue sweat stains coming through. And he was moving around and talking, and he tried to say something, and he just, when you just lose your chain of thought and you just like just lose it and you just couldn't speak. And someone in the crowd laughed because he was making a bit of a fool of himself, to be honest with you. And he went, fuck it, and fuck it into the mic. Fuck, I had all kids there, bearing in mind. Fuck all around the room was like parents putting their ears over the kids, hands over the kids' ears, threw the mic down, went into the corner in a sulk, sat in the corner like a child. And everyone was shocked. There's like 400 people in the crowd, right? I thought, what the fuck am I going to do here? And so everyone was like sat there, not knowing kind of how to respond to stuff. And then I had to, like, someone said, come, like, get him. Like, you're going to have to get him. So what am I going to do? So I went over to the corner. I'm like, come on, Jean-Claude Van Damme, my childhood hero. He's going, no one, he goes, everyone hates me now. It's like having a
like
60 feet.
Oh,
everyone hates me now. He sat there with his head down like that. And I said, he goes, I've messed it up. And I went, no, you haven't, mate. I said, we've been waiting hours for you. I said, honestly, he said, everyone loves you. I love you. We all love you. He goes, really? And I was like, yeah, come on, mate. He said, come out. We'll just do it one last time. We just had a bad start. That's all. He went, all right, then. Like, honestly, like coaxing a child around. Yeah. And then we pulled him out and everyone was like, hey, kind of half-hearted. I got him up. And then, do you know what? He was all right then, but it was a little bit insincere at that stage because everyone had kind of seen he had a bit of a fit. And we had a mess around and then he got me up to demonstrate one of his kicks and that. And we had a bit of a mess around spar. I should have just smashed him straight in. I definitely could have. He was short and he weren't that good. I thought I could have definitely stuck it on him. Someone did have a footage, but they weren't really, the phones weren't very good then. There was footage of me actually having a little spar with him, which would have been great if I'd had that now, but unfortunately I didn't. So then he did one pitch with everyone and then just went off and everyone was like, wow, what just happened then? But it did get a lot of publicity, but I was worried that he was going to ruin my career, make me look bad, but at least he turned up. I can't make him be user friendly. I think there's quite a few stories of him being a bit like that anyway.
You moving forward, how have you built your business? How have you built your kickboxing business in what you've done around the UK? So
while I was fighting, I was training a squad and I was also opening more schools. So I had my one full-time centre in Telford, which is still going now. That's our headquarters. And I built that up to like 400 students. And as people over time, I've implemented all of my kind of military ethos and values into it. Our black belts, like mini P company events, they have to do log runs, they have to do 10 hill reps, 10 hill runs, then they fight. And then it's not milling, but like it's it's longer than milling. It's 16 rounds and they do points, light contact, full contact, 2-on-1, full contact right at the end when they're depleted.
So you're going to really push people's boundaries horrendously. And a lot of those kids who are going there, what sort of age groups are these people?
So I have 12-year-olds do the black belts. Even younger sometimes, but they've been with me, only younger if they've been with me as a squad fighter, because the squad fighter is what I'd do, because I'd built up at one stage when I was still teaching myself, I'd had about my full-time centre and about 30 other schools around that within a 10-mile radius. So, because once you get to black belt, people want to teach. So I was opening schools with the right people. And then because of that, I got a big pool of people to pick from. So from that, I'd skim off the top, the very, very best ones, brief them up and say to the mums and dads, I'm fighting, your guys have got potential. I want them to come in my squad. If they come in the squad, they need to train 5 times a week. They're doing 2 or 3 classes a night with me. They fight at all of these events. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But it's my rules. You have no input whatsoever into what I do with them. You just say fucking thank you and fucking be appreciated. That
you horrible bastard.
Do you know what I mean? And you've managed their expectations totally at that point. Don't do it. Don't do it if you don't want to.
Mate, I love the mentality, I've got to say, Lee, because if you want to be a fighter, you've got to be the best. If you want to be, you've got to be disciplined.
Yeah.
You've got to cut everything else out. You've got to be, it's like being in business.
Yeah.
You've got to be obsessed to be 100%. Successful.
If you're not obsessed, right, and you don't think about every thought isn't about it, or everything you do taking you one step closer to it, then there are people that are, and you won't succeed.
Yeah, there's
they will succeed.
Chinks in the armour there, isn't there?
Absolutely. Wow. So you've got to be all in, totally submerged in it.
Yeah. How old are you today, Lee?
I am 46.
46. Are you still fighting?
No. So I stopped fighting when I was 35. Yeah, I stopped fighting when I was 35 because I'd built up, I'd got about 50 or 60 locations at that point.
What, around the UK?
Yeah, I've opened over 200 locations over the last 25 years. We've got the biggest chain of martial arts centres in the UK now.
Wow.
So that's just from, and I never tried to be the biggest. I just wanted to be as good a quality as I could possibly get. Yeah. And the side effect of that was expansion, but indirectly, because I had the right people. I made it difficult to get in. You couldn't just buy into my franchise. You had to pass my 5-day selection course, which was tough. It's a real tough course.
I can imagine.
And if you don't pass it, and then once they did pass it, I would put obstacles in their way on purpose to see if because motivation isn't a good indication of someone's ability to succeed, because that dies off. I want to know if you've got if you're going to grind, if you can have perseverance and discipline and just keep going until you succeed. So I would purposely put things in their way and make it more difficult, and then they can come in. And then what that did is the right people really bought into it.
So the right people are buying a franchise off you.
That was right.
Of your brand, which is called today
British Military Martial Arts.
British Military Martial Arts.
That's right.
How would the business model work? Say if I did your 5-dayer.
Yeah, so you did the 5-day
and I was fucking drained after it.
Yeah, that'd be good at that stage. Yeah, the Fridays, all the tests, physical tests.
So if I'd done that and passed, and like, you know that I'm mad keen to become a part of what you're doing. Yeah. Have I got to pay you some money for that?
Yeah. So there's a franchise fee, but I like discount it substantially for people that are at national level or something, or if they're if they're veterans, because I want to be able to have the right people in there that way. Yeah. And then what I do is I guarantee, we've never had anyone that's launched it and not been successful. Okay. Because me and my team will
want them to be successful.
Yeah, and we will do the processes and the systems. We launch it with them, and if it's not working, we literally will just keep readjusting the process until it's
tweaking
successful.
Everything to its successful. Okay. So how does that person work? So if I come and took it off you and I said, right, I've got my own school there under your brand name, I'll give you a lump up front, say thank you very much. You're guiding me on what to do, what not to do. I'm getting clients in, saying, right, I've got 100 clients. How much would they be paying a month? Is it a monthly fee, like 30 quid a month, 20 quid a month?
Yes, it depends on the location, because obviously that has a lot to do with it. If you're in Scotland, the class is a little bit cheaper. Not because they're stingy up there, even though they are a little bit stingy up there. It's more to do with
peeling orange in the pocket.
But it's more to do with like things are cheaper up there generally. Then if it's down south, obviously it's more if you've got a full-time location. If you're in satellite schools, in like primary schools, which is how we tend to launch them to start with, then they'll be cheaper again. But say it's anywhere from, if it's 1 day a week in a primary school, it might be £39 a month. It could be up to like, if it's an exclusive area, like we've got some in some of the other exclusive areas, it could be £79-99 a month if it's a full-time centre and they're training multiple classes. So it varies depending on what program they're doing and how much they're doing.
And are you at your peak right now? Do you find that, like in business, people feel, I want to expand, I want more and more and more. Sometimes more and more give you a headache, and doesn't mean you're going to generate as much net profit at the end of it.
That is a very, very wise statement that you said then, and very true. You say that from experience in yourself from doing stuff, because
I've been running businesses for 25 years as an entrepreneur.
That is exactly what happens. Well, you hit that point where to start off with, you do break past it, but there's a lot of work. I always advise people to not do what I've done.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I just say, get one full-time centre as an epicenter and have a surrounding area of lots of schools that you can totally control, and you can feed your own team into teaching them, and you can oversee the whole thing. That's easier to maintain, and you can make good money. When I started to go national and have schools all over the place,
you can't stay on top of it.
It was hard. I had to totally change all my systems, the way I would mentor them, and then it was more effort, more outgoing, and no more money to start with. Obviously, if you persevere past that and get bigger, then I broke past that point then, and then I restructured stuff and I put other people within my organisation then to be able to have
you need area managers, you need managers, you need a director. All of a sudden, you're outlaying more to have more, which doesn't actually generate more net profit. No, the reason why I say that just there, I had 12 nightclubs every week for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So when we built, this was in my 20s. So when we were building the nightclub in Manchester and Birmingham, Leicester and London, wherever it was, you think the more, but it's more headache. It's more overhead. It's more everything.
There's always a problem.
And you're best off, and you're best off having 4 or 5 that you can manage, bam, 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 make it profitable, make the flyers and posters and make all the promo amazing, make everyone's experience amazing. 2,000 people in that club, you're taking the door money. And make 5 amazing rather than going 12. But in your 20s, you're learning.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and that's.
But luckily now, I've set it up in such a way that we could scale times 10 now. And would be, I've set everything up for that, for the ability.
But that takes time, mate, in business.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And then I've just recently got the training program that I've been doing, the 5-day selection course that I've been doing for the last 16 years, something like that. 3 or 4 times a year I've done it a lot. I know it extensively. I've trained hundreds and hundreds of instructors on it. And I've recently rebranded it and made it into a book. So and that's all based off. That's the one.
Here we go. For anyone looking.
So that's
elite martial arts instructor.
You got one of the early ones because it's not out till the 1st of November.
Loving the front cover.
pretty alley, isn't it? Yeah.
How
Like I
good's that?
said, couldn't be any more masculine
No,
unless
isn't
had a
it?
big machine gun
Yeah.
and a big, maybe a big
Big
Mexican
tash.
moustache or something.
Big
Yeah.
handlebar.
But it's that is an instruction manual of everything I've done and how to literally go from no schools, nothing, start afresh, build up, launch, and then scale and pull back and build an empire.
Yeah.
So it's everything I've done, but it's also only half of it's instruction manual. A lot of it's military analogies, mindset, personal anecdotes and stories about myself, and everything I talk about, I'll relate back to a personal story or situation as kind of an example of what I'm talking about, to just show you I'm not gobbing off and making it up.
Mate, you know your stuff, mate. And what I love about this story is you've gone through to build the discipline, to everything you've done with the parachute, to make you a extremely tough human being.
I hope so.
And over these last 20 years, building your business is pretty phenomenal. There's not many people who have left the military and gone on to do what you've done.
No, there isn't, but there are some. The thing is as well, and this is the thing I've always said, veterans, military personnel have such a great, unique skill set, and they make great leaders. I mean, if you do something like the junior NCO cadres and the senior NCO cadres that you do in the military, juniors and seniors, and drilling duties, you learn how to lead, and you learn how to lead well, and you learn how to lead under immense pressure when everything's going wrong. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't tell a leader until things go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
And you know that when the pandemic hit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
A lot of pandemics, hidden thing, the proper leader will stand up and look after your team.
Absolutely.
Don't get rid of people. Look after the team, protect your team. That's what we did here, obviously, with the Bournemouth Sevens Festival. You know, 12 full-time staff, protect the team at all costs. And then that pays off at the end.
It does,
do you know?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you've got to go and split your team up and everyone... No.
People think selfishly.
Yeah,
if you can give more, give more.
Agree.
Look after the people closest to you.
Agree.
And take on more of the burden. You should be the human shield for your men or your women, whoever's you're in charge of. You take the hit. You don't pass shit. They say shit rolls down in the army, but that's only from the top. It doesn't in the smaller groups. You know, you literally, you've got a good leader. They're taking the brunt of it for you. Do you know what I mean?
Entrepreneur plus management equals success.
Absolutely.
If you get that right management in place and employ the right people around you to make
the right people as well, though, isn't it?
100%.
So it's not just about, it's not just about your training process, your training procedures. They are really important. I've got those down to a T, but it's about selection of the right people, because some people will never be right.
Agree.
And you delude
yourself. It comes down to attitude.
Yeah.
I employ people purely on attitude. I don't care if you've got the skill set or not. I'll teach you the skills. If you've got the right attitude, you're going to win. You're going to come on the journey and you're going to be a success. Yeah.
You want someone who's pumped, wants to be with you, is loyal, and is prepared to fail, make mistakes, learn and improve, and that's 100% what you need, isn't it? You can build on that.
Absolutely.
If someone's really got a good set of skill sets, but they haven't got that, they're going to be job jumping anyway a lot of the time, aren't
well, that's what's happened. You've seen over the last few years, everyone's job jumping.
Yeah.
Jump. It never happened when we were growing up. It's like people were in a job for guaranteed 10 years or whatever. Now people are like, because of social media and people are like, I want to jump there, think the grass is greener, the grass is greener. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, you know? It's where you water it.
Exactly.
You know?
And also, if you don't persevere at something, you only get really good at something after an extended amount of time on that one thing.
Yes.
And if you do that for one time and you're headed there, and then you change your direction and head somewhere else, and then you change your direction and head, you're never going to get to any final destination.
Agree.
You can just have a simple plan, stick to it, and then just keep relentlessly dragging yourself forward by your fingernails, inch at a time, until you get to your objective. I've
done 16, coming in 17 years of the festival we own here.
Is it
independently owned?
That one?
Bournemouth Sevens Festival.
Yeah, that's right. I saw it,
17 years, every day. 17 years.
Wow.
So 30,000 people come to a field to party for 3 days, 400 teams, 100 DJs, all of that. Every minute of every day, I'm thinking about this. Every minute, even in the podcast last 3 years, every day. You do get obsessed with it.
Yeah,
and
you do.
Business, to make a business work, you have to be obsessed.
Yeah.
All of this, work-life balance. I think that's bollocks.
Oh, I talk about it in my book.
Mate, I think it's bollocks. And I can only speak from my experience. I'm sure the world we're in at the moment, work-life balance is all lovely and go at home and switch off your computer. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, there's no work-life balance until you get to a point where you've broken the back of your business, and then you can start to balance things up a bit.
Call it counterbalance in my book. So say, like a paratrooper or a world champion are not balanced.
Yeah.
Like you are the opposite of balanced. You're all in. You're submerged fully in your event. And then once you've achieved success, you can then, I counterbalance. What I'll do, I'll then submerge myself back in my family for a bit, turn my phone off, go on a really nice holiday and just be fully, present as dad or whatever.
got an addictive personality?
I was diagnosed obsessive compulsive again in my mid 30s.
So are you, like you mentioned earlier about dyslexia,
Yeah.
ADHD, compulsive?
Yeah.
I don't know any of this.
No,
I've just done it. I've never had a job in my life. I've just done entrepreneur, and I know I've got some of this stuff, but how do I find out?
I went and got privately diagnosed by a psychologist.
Where do I
psychologist. I went to do an English course.
It's not all woo-woo stuff. I'm not into all that.
No.
Hold on, look into my eyes, you're under. None of that.
No, it was kind of accidental. To start off with, the first one was dyslexia is when I went to redo English when I was in my mid-30s. I'm going to do my English now. I'm not going to master this. So I couldn't read all right very well when I first left the army. I'd only read one book at school, I think Jane Eyre or something. It was shit as well. I didn't enjoy it. You had to write something about it. So that I'd read that, and then I'd started reading self-development books in my mid-20s, and I was like, I got obsessed because I was like, just like with martial arts, I thought, this makes me better. I can become a better person from this. So again, I was like hooked on it. I read like over 200 books all the time, and audios obsessively. And I'd listen to the same audios over and over and over again, just because I'm not that great at retaining stuff, if I'm honest with you. So just help imprint it. And it also kept me in a really good positive frame of mind as well. So I'd just listen to it, and I'd read, and I'd submerge myself with all of these new ideas. So in breaking down boundaries, kind of wiring your brain a little bit and opening up your horizons. And it really, really, for me, helped me. And I also learned to read properly a lot better and write through reading.
Did you
books.
write this book yourself?
I did 100% myself.
Did you?
Yeah. So I'm now, because I've been in business.
You're an author.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Not
many people can say that, can they?
No. And some people.
I couldn't think of anything worse having to write a book. Like for me, it's like, I'd have to have someone, ghostwriter or something, to go through it all, or just put it on a podcast.
It wouldn't work for me. I'm way too much of a control freak.
Really?
I tried it on the first chapter, I thought, and I spent an hour and a half speaking to them about everything, and then they wrote it down in a way which was totally wrong, and then I just redid all the whole thing. I thought, this isn't going to write.
Do it myself.
So what I did is I just literally just splurted it all out, all spelt wrong.
On audio, or you wrote it?
No, wrote it. So I just wrote on my computer, didn't even look up like that.
Were you like middle finger typing?
Yeah,
or
like
or was you? Did you end up
in
like that?
crayon? Most took me ages. So
I'm like this on a computer.
I don't look up. It's all in capitals, but for fuck's sake, someone needs to make a button to reverse it from capitals, don't they?
Yeah, rather than have to delete.
And I've got a Mac as well. It goes so slowly to delete. So I literally didn't look up with that. So
How long did it take you to do this from start to finish?
18 months. That's
18 months.
Being now
and were you totally obsessed?
Obsessed. I was up at 4 a.m. I was thinking about it. As soon as ideas popped in my head, I'd be on my phone. I was literally like I was possessed. I look at it now and I read it and I think, how the fuck did I write that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's some good stuff. What I tried to do is try to put, because I've read so many books and I've done a lot in my life in many different areas, and I wanted to get all the lessons I'd learned and compact them into one book.
Yeah.
So I thought, if you're a martial artist, then everything you want is in there. So you don't need to read 200 books.
Yeah, okay.
I've got all different time
Do you know
management.
what? When I just flicked through, you gave me earlier. I love the way it's presented. Like you can flick a page, and the title is every 2 different pages, like different
little
things.
Subheadings.
Like, God, that makes life easier.
Yeah, it's for me.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying I'd go right. Let's pick a page today. All right, page 144. There we go. Fight Night's title. Happy days. There's 3 paragraphs on that, and the next one is mentoring. Like, brilliant.
There's loads of stuff in there that crosses over from multiple industries in business as well. But I'll be honest. So half of it is like an instruction manual of how to get to where you want, but the other half is very much readable by anyone really. My personal story, mindset, and examples of what I've done, and what some of my students have done, and how we think and how we approach stuff, and how we approach stuff in the Parachute Regiment. And it's quite a different mindset to a normal person, to be honest with you. So, so hopefully I've managed to sum it up in there. I've really enjoyed this. Me too, mate. It's been brilliant. Yeah, mate. I've properly enjoyed this. What a great life you've had so far. Thank you very much. I'm only just starting as well. This is obviously another chapter for me. Excuse the pun. So tell people where they can get the book. The book's going to be available on Amazon from the 1st of November 2023. Brilliant. Yeah. Happy days, mate. And where can people find you? Yeah. So main one's Instagram, Lee Matthews Official, and my new website that comes out on the 1st of November, which is leematthewsofficial.com. Yeah, mate. Yeah. Mate, what an eventful life you've lived. Thank you very much. Mate, I love your mindset. Brilliant.
Do you know what I mean? I can see a lot of similarities in our mindset in business.
Yeah.
My business mindset with your parachute mindset, with your business mindset.
Same thing, isn't
it's
it?
exactly the same thing.
Yeah. That's what I said about veterans. Like, they've got the skill set, but they just lack the confidence. So I want to try and encourage some of these guys to come in and, you know, trust me, there's a safety net there. It's me. Jump and you'll make it. And I'll support you.
Yeah, wicked, mate.
You know. Yeah.
Mate, I love this.
Brilliant. Me too, mate.
You're a good man.
Thank you very much.
Nice one, Lou.
Thank you for having me on.
Cheers, fella. Hi, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Can you do us a favour and subscribe to the channel? It's totally free and it massively helps our show. Cheers, guys.